What's up, folks? We are back with another live to film tape of recording of things that we do where we talk about videos and reactions and reviews. And I make Leroy get upset as I say we're live because it's fun. By the way, that's Leroy
Thank you.
Michael. This is the
Thank you.
Retrying
Because
channel.
it's not like we're doing a review of Rebel Moon. Just do that. Just say that.
That's not fun then.
Obviously.
Yeah.
So
Zack Snyder's latest magnum opus.
okay. So we're here talking about we're doing a review of Rebel Moon, Child of Fire. The
Part one.
Part one. The
Mhm.
first iteration of the franchise that Zack Snyder has started. He is on record of saying he would like 6 films.
That's bold, Cotton.
Stop it.
I'm just, woo. Hey, shoot your shot. All I can say is have that Kane
So
confidence because
So want to explain Kane confidence? Do you want to tell the people what Kane confidence is?
we don't have enough time for that. We can just stick to
I'm
this.
just so you said it. I just want to know if you want to delve into what Kane confidence is. Okay.
Okay.
So Zack Snyder has said he created this world, he created this universe, and Child of Fire is the first film, and Scargiver is the second part of this story that he's trying to tell. He would like for there to be 6 films in this world, this universe. I don't know if he'll get 6 films. He's been given 2.
He shouldn't have got to.
Wow. I can I get through just
Yeah, you
can I
can do
get
whatever you
through
want.
just the preamble
Sure.
before you that's Michael, I'm Leroy. Can I get to just the facts before you start
I don't think
slaughtering?
I haven't said any lies so far.
Some people disagree with you.
Okay.
So Rebel Moon starts with
Where they at? Because Rotten Tomatoes ain't been hot on this so far. So where they
stop.
at? Just
Let me get through the beginning.
I didn't realize how
And
fired
then
up I would be about this. You're
God,
opening up new wounds.
God damn. Let me just get through the preamble. Can I get through that? Can I get through the synopsis? Just give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up of 30 seconds. Thank you. Okay. So the plot line behind Rebel Moon, Child of Fire, is a farming settlement is visited by a warship. Cora, who is a farmer, a mysterious stranger living amongst the villagers, tells them that warship is a bad omen. The character Corey Stoll, who is the leader of the group, has one idea for how they should go forward. The warship and their leadership flies down, and Gunner, played by Michael Husaman, has a different version of what they should do. Ed Skrein, who plays Atticus Noble, decides, I don't like what Corey Stoll says.
I feel like you're telling the
And
movie.
I'm we've seen this in trailers. Attacks Mr. Stoll and sets up the movie, sets up what happens next, and says, you have X amount of days
This movie
to,
shit.
God damn it,
I
to
gave you
give me
a
what
minute. I've been
I
watching the
don't
timer.
believe
I
I
watched the
don't
timer
believe you
because you
did.
said 30 seconds.
I
I gave
don't
you a minute.
I
Sorry.
don't believe you did. But
Okay.
anyway, Anyway, how do I say this? Zack Snyder tried to give us Seven Samurai combined with Star Wars. And that's what Rebel Moon Child of Fire is, according to him. I give the floor to you. What are your first impressions?
They got
Like
my
I
first
laughed.
impressions.
What are your first impressions about this film?
I just think it's honestly, I was really doing that to amp you up. I do feel that way. I'm not that strong about it. As I was watching it, though, I was definitely like, "Why am I? This is not good." And I don't usually try to tell people to come for me, but you can come for me. The people release a Snyder cut, come for me. I'm sorry, this movie's not good. It is a mess. It tries to be so many different things at once. You said Star Wars. You said Seven Samurai.
Seven Samurai.
I mean, you got Blade Runner in here. I mean, there's a bunch of stuff it tries to be. It's not good. It tries to have the action is clunky. It's not. It doesn't look good. Sophia Botello, who is an amazing dancer, has some really good choreography in Kingsman when she is. I can't think of her name, but she's the one with the blades on her feet. She looked awesome in that movie with that choreography. So I know she can handle good choreography. This choreography is garbage. It ain't her fault. It's not her fault. Everything that Zack Snyder does, you get all that in here for all the good and for all the bad. Slow motion upon slow motion. Nobody, I mean, there's a lot of build up to a final climax that is nothing. I had read that somebody was in the movie. I didn't even realize they were in the movie. I was like, oh, they must be in part 2. And I looked it up like, oh, they're in this. Oh, they're that person? Because they were in the movie that long. Man, this movie. I'm sorry. Zach, bruh. Friend, you know what? Friend of the show, Zack Snyder, come talk to us and let me know what's going on. Because I was being real flippant about saying this movie doesn't need 2 movies. And it doesn't. What it should do is combine part 2 and part 1. And I feel like you have a much better movie.
Okay.
Because there is so much setup that doesn't need to happen.
So, what about when you say part 1 and part 2 should be combined, and it gives us a better movie? What about part 2 have you seen that gives you that opinion?
Oh, you know what? That's a good point. I don't know. That's probably trash too. I'm just trying to help him out. I think that might be trash too.
No.
I saw the trailer and I was like, oh.
So you saw the trailer at the end of you see Solon. You watched Child of Fire, and then at the end of Child of Fire, they gave you a trailer.
Did I do this? I said, I'm gonna kill Leroy. We need to review this movie. No, we don't. We could do something else. Let's work on curing cancer. That's what the world needs. We don't need to review this movie.
I agree with you.
Uh-huh.
So, what about Child of Fire? The ending upset you so much that when you saw the trailer for Scargiver, you were like, that should have been in the first movie.
There's just so much buildup in this movie. And it's weird because I want to say there's buildup, but even when there's buildup, you really don't get a lot of story, even though there's so much exposition in this movie. And you're like, oh, here's here and here, but I still didn't really learn anything about anybody. Djimon Hounsou's in this movie. You wouldn't know it. He's in it. He don't do anything. You have Djimon Hounsou in this movie? You got Amistad in this movie? And you just go,
As General Titus. Good. Continue.
Oh, man. I was, whew.
I feel you like
you have, and I don't know if it's Bae Doona or Doona Bae. I don't know. The South Korean actress who's in this as Nemesis, who was very not underrated. I just don't know if a lot of people saw Sense8, but she was in Sense8. I loved her in that. Again, another person who do choreography well. She got a little bit to do in this. It's just there are bits and pieces where they introduce people, but they don't really give backstory to them. And it's like, you did. I'm here for a second. This is my thing. Let's go on. I'm here for a second. There's a backstory. Let's go on. You didn't build these people up. So when people die, I don't care. I didn't build a rapport with the people that died. Kill them. Good. That means you don't have to be on the set anymore for this movie. Good for you. Get that paycheck.
So here's my question
Hmm.
for you, because there's a lot that I want to get into, because I followed this film and all the things that go with it that I don't think you did. And I have a lot of questions as a reviewer. Me and you are considered critics. Do you feel
We're as
like,
much critics as he is a good movie maker.
wow, I when you say he, do you mean Zack Snyder?
I do mean Zack Snyder. Come for
Okay.
me today, y'all. I am feeling it.
Friend of the show,
Friend
Zack
of the
Snyder.
show. Yes.
So this movie was 2 hours and about 15 minutes. And I'm gonna try to explain as best I can. This film was released. There is a director's cut that's coming later. Give me a second.
I know there
The
is. I just forget. You upset me when you reminded me about that. I was like, how dare you?
Do you feel like the director's cut
Will be better?
will? Yes.
Yes. Yes, I do. And it makes me mad. Why couldn't you figure out how to put it in this movie?
Okay.
I am so tired of Zack Snyder releasing a movie that is like, okay, what is happening? And then you release a director's cut that's better. And I'm like, I need you to work with studios and figure something out because these director's cuts are better. But how can you not get some of the beats into these other movies to I feel like there's a disconnect when he does his editing. That seems like that's what it is. Like you're
Okay.
editing in weird
Stop.
spots so that we're
Hold,
missing
hold,
story
hold.
beats.
Stop right there. Here's my problem with what you're saying, where I agree with you, but the problem is twofold. One, which films are you talking about?
I'm
Because
talking about the superhero
Justice
stuff. The Batman v
Justice
Superman
League.
extended
Okay,
league,
okay.
the extended version of Batman v Superman, and
Batman versus
the
Superman,
4 hour the
and
Snyder Cut Justice League.
okay. So I feel like we're doing apples and oranges when we're doing those films and this one, because I think this Netflix and Zack Snyder has a totally different problem than those films had. And I'm glad that you brought it up because I feel like, okay, Batman versus Superman had an entirely different problem because those two films were made by Warner Brothers that we don't have here. Those films were commercial, released in theaters. Zack Snyder had a vision. The studio came in and said, we don't trust your vision. We're going to chop them up and release this. In Justice League, there were reports that he left the film. Josh Whedon came, re-edited the film, shot some stuff, went a different film. Everybody, you can go online, find out, release the Snyder Cut. Zack Snyder was brought back by Warner Brothers. That film was released. I think with Netflix and Rebel Moon, we have a different problem. Why did you release a film on Netflix where you control the film? Netflix has given you whatever you need. Why are there two versions of a film released on a streaming platform where you don't have to be commercially viable? Does that make sense? In
Kind
other
of.
words, the reason why I said it's apple and oranges, you had a different model where you released the film and you could do whatever you wanted within the confines, and then they could edit it whatever they wanted and release whatever they wanted. Whereas Netflix, you can release what your Magnus opus without it being chopped down to 2 hours and 15 minutes. You could release your 4-hour movie and there's no problem. That's a different set of circumstances from Netflix to Warner Brothers. Does that make sense? Because the reason why I say that is, why are there two versions of your film
In different
where
universes, Leroy. In different universes.
that's
That's
my
what he said.
problem. That's my problem. You have a movie that you're saying, here's Rebel Moon, Child of Fire. And you're on record where you've been interviewed, you've talked about, oh, I have a different cut of the film that's a totally different film. Why are there two versions of it? To the point where we hadn't even gotten to Scargiver. That changes the entire way we look at this. That's my problem with this film. Because once you realize that, and I'm not discounting everything you said, I'm saying everything you said is valid, because everything you said could be negated, because in a few months, there could be a version of this film where everything you said is null and void, because this is the version that Zack Snyder wanted to release. And you have a version that's like, why was this released? Where you didn't have the problem of the studio saying, I'm pulling you off the film. This film started with a subpar version and another version that Zack Snyder really wanted to release. And that's the problem I have with this. And when you start from that, I'm like, how are you stepping on rakes worse than Warner Brothers? Because that's what's going on right now.
Even so, let me clarify. I do think the longer version will be better because it'll be more coherent. I still think it's going to be a bad movie. Because, I mean, here's my thing. Even with the longer version, I think it'll make more sense. But I still think overall it's going to be a bad movie, just based on the little pieces I'm seeing in this. The action. So if I had to guess, we'll probably get more action. But the action has sucked in 2 hours. I don't think it's going to be better over 4 hours.
Okay.
And maybe you're going to get more character development. Okay, that's cool. But if it's the dialogue that I got from this for 4 hours, no, thank you. This dialogue isn't good. I was like, and hey, I'm not. You know what? I'm a news writer. I'm a broadcast writer. I get it. I'm not a television writer for scripted content. But it does not sound good. It doesn't sound natural. Yeah.
So let's back up. Let's back up. Let's take it piece by piece.
Do we want to get into spoilers yet, or what?
So,
because I got a review.
Hold on. We've been talking for 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Mike. Shit. You got me so. Because
Zack Snyder, you did this. He don't even know his name. See what you did to this man?
I wanted to. That's Michael.
Friend of the show, Snyder did it.
You had me saying I'm Michael.
Zack Snyder got you saying you Michael.
I'm Leroy. That's Michael. Like, comment, and subscribe. We're going to get into spoilers after this. Before we get there, Rebel Moon, Child of Fire, that has been released on December 22nd. What would you give it?
I'll give it a 1 because it technically is a movie. No, I'll give it a 0.5. Okay. A 0.5 because it technically is a movie.
Out of 5.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
0.5. Oh, man. Uh, 0.5 out of 5 gratuitously needless sexual assault scenes.
Okay. Leroy, out of 5, will give it a 1 out of 5 slow motion shots. So,
Leroy, this man did slow motion on top of slow motion.
Stop.
I was like, wait a minute, are we in the Matrix? He
So
was going
you,
at one half of speed, and then he
so
went to
you,
a slower speed. I was like, wait
so
a minute, is he doing this in cut time? Am I back in band practice? What is this? Oh God,
you done? You done?
no! Because who's the dude? Who's the guy in charge of Netflix?
Ted
Sarantos.
Sarantos?
He said, "Yo, you did a good job. You Kobe this, man. We're gonna let you do another one, bruh."
So breathe. Don't talk. Let me talk for 30 seconds.
Okay.
We gave you a review. We're at 20 minutes. If you haven't watched Rebel Moon, Child of Fire, go watch it. Come back.
Don't.
I said 30
You
seconds.
did. I apologize. I do it again. I'm sorry.
Like, comment, and subscribe. Tell us what you think about the film that's on Netflix. They're going to release a longer version from Zack Snyder that is more true to his vision. We would like to hear from you. And by we, that means me. I will be the person answering and responding to your comments. We're going to go past this and do spoilers, and Michael will give his opinion about the film Rebel Moon, A Child of Fire, and I will try to keep this video on the rails. I say I will try because I'm usually the person who is the wild card, and Michael's the sensible one. Right now,
Just so you know, it's been more than 30 seconds, but keep going.
it's 30 seconds. Spoilers. Michael, the floor is yours.
I mean, I just.
No. The
What
floor
is
is yours.
this movie?
Start from the
Leroy,
beginning.
what is this? This is trash. This is not good.
Stop.
Also,
because
yeah,
Hold,
I'm so angry. I haven't changed the color yet.
No, only reason why I say is because I want to get to it. Hold on.
Uh-huh. Oh,
Okay.
Is this our text chain?
This is our text change. You sent. Okay. Here it is. Okay. December 24th. You said, I'm going to watch Rebel Moon. And I said, same. Well, I will watch after Die Hard because it was Christmas Eve. And I have to watch Die Hard on Christmas Eve. That is just the holiday tradition that I do. Sure. I don't do trading places. I do Die Hard.
It's because you're a criminal.
Possibly. After I said, after I watched Die Hard.
Can we review Trading Places instead of this?
We can. Eventually. And you said
everybody's on their A game in that movie.
You said I'm an hour into this and I'm not feeling it. You ever get to Rebel Moon? That was Christmas. I said, not yet. Gonna try to knock it out after the next 24 hours. Let me guess, you're not a fan. You said this shit sucks. And I said, damn, that bad. And you said at 10:18, this is something. Okay, me, Rebel Moon, almost done. And I said, I didn't hear from you. Dude, we have to remove Rebel Moon. What the fuck was that? And you said, I told you it was something. I watched it a day ago, still trying to digest what I saw. And you said, you watched shit. I said, that's too simple of an explanation. And then I said, you want to take this Rebel Moon tonight or not? And you said, that's fine. And I wanted to be transparent because I did say that's too simple of an explanation.
Sometimes the simplest explanation is the right explanation.
That's one way of looking at it. Give me why you think this movie is shit.
It's all over the place, and there's like the theme isn't. and I'm sure people will find it, and good for them. I am, and all the stuff that we've done, I always say up front, sometimes I don't understand stuff. I get it. Not everything is for me. We say that all the time. I feel like this should be for me because even though, I'm bash Zack Snyder, I did enjoy the longer version of Batman v Superman. I enjoyed the 4 hour Snyder cut, only in the sense that they were at least better than the other stuff that came out. I've said it before. He needs an editor. If it takes you 4 hours to tell me something in a movie, geez, give me a TV show or something. It shouldn't take that long for a movie. That's crazy. I mean, I guess you're trying to put me through an experience. Maybe. I don't know. But this is just, everything about it is just boilerplate basic bullshit. The characters are not well developed. You know who the villain is. As soon as I saw Charlie Hunnam, I was like, oh, that's the bad guy. Clearly.
Really?
You look like a piece of shit. You look like trash. I'm sorry. That was like, yep, obviously. Because there's, I'm trying to think of anything that was like, oh, this is unique. It's like, no, because Nemesis came and then she used her laser swords, because you can't call them lightsabers, I guess. They looked cool, but they were clearly lightsabers. The CG was god awful. And I'm trying to figure out, like, what is the budget? You remember, and I think we talked about this before. You remember Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
How they like shot it on green screen, or they shot it some kind of way, and it was like ahead of its time. But like if you look at it now, it looks real dated. Why does Rebel Moon look exactly like that? 20 years later.
I didn't see Sky Captain. You know what I saw?
What?
Mutant Chronicles. Do you remember that film?
Mm-mm.
With Thomas Jane?
Mm-mm.
So you probably didn't. That was a movie that came out in 2008. It had Thomas Jane, Ron Perlman, and John Malkovich.
Okay.
It was, the guns remind me of that film, the way it was shot, the animation. It just reminded me of that film. I want to go back to some of the things you said about the character development and lightsabers.
Hey, you know what? PSA, stop doing these scenes where villains are about to rape a woman to prove that they're bad. Holy shit. Really? We get it. There are so many other ways you could have proved these people were bad.
Hold on. Let's start from the beginning. Let's start from.
You know what? We should start from 27 minutes into the movie and just jump around, because that's what this fucking movie did.
No. Let's start from the beginning. So
okay,
we got the one thing that I thought this film could have benefited from, that they kind of did, was Anthony Hopkins' voiceover told us, kind of like Star Wars.
About the fucking robot.
God damn it.
Jesus. I forgot about the fucking robot.
Who
had horns at the end.
I now feel like.
Did he become Lord of the Flies?
I now feel like, okay, this is how adults feel when I go off the rails and I just lose it and just Charlie Day wildcarded. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Mm-hmm. We had the voiceover of Anthony Hopkins explaining a little bit about the universe. We had Sophia
Botella
tilling the farmland, and then she was approached by Gunnar, played by Michael Hussman, and hey, we're waiting for you, yada yada yada. And they had this whole community meeting with Corey Stoll about what they should do. And I feel like, what was the mother? I'm trying to remember what the empire was called. Anyway, so we have this conversation.
Mother something. Mother World?
I know that. I'm trying to. Anyway, no, that it's
Oh,
irrelevant.
okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
so we have this conversation with the farmers. Cora, who is
Sex positive farmers. That was cool.
so you just not go help. Okay, I got it.
I'm serious.
So
I think that was a cool concept.
so we have the farmers discussing what they're what they're gonna do going forward once this ship that's in low orbit and the people from the ship come down. I thought from there we had the chance of a good film. I was on board, and then Ed
Question for you:
Screen. Go ahead.
as you're watching this, were you not at all like the pacing seems off, or you're just letting it build, or you just have
I
patience?
I had patience, but we were 20 minutes in, and I was like, "This movie is 2 hours and 15 minutes," and I was like, the entire time, and I'll get to that as we go on.
Okay.
I felt the pacing was off because as I was watching this, I was like, we should be further along for what this film is. Does that make sense? Because let's take a film that this is in comparison to Rebel Moon to Child of Fire. Let's take the best comparison we can have
Star Wars
is
Episode 4,
there you go.
which it clearly wants to be.
And see, this is where I disagree with you. I think this film was trying to be Seven Samurai. But I think that's a hard sell when you're trying to do a Star Wars film. So let's take Star Wars A New Hope.
Mhm.
That movie starts off with a freighter coming down and then a Star Destroyer chasing it, shooting it, catches it. It's reeled in, tractor beam. You have the rebels setting up, and then stormtroopers come in. That's the first time we see stormtroopers lay waste to the rebels, and then Darth Vader walks in. That's in the first 5 minutes of the film. Rebel Moon, A Child of Fire, starts with a voiceover from Anthony Hopkins. Sophia is tilling the land, and there's conversations. There's none of the action. There's none of the buildup. There's none of the setup. It's basically a conversation about how we're going to sell grain to an empire. And we don't even have an idea of the empire's motivation because the preamble sets up the empire as, hey, it's not that bad. But as you listen to it, you're like, oh, no, they're terrible. They're the British Empire because they're literally going out assaulting other worlds. And then further into the movie, we realize, oh, the king has a different view of what's going on. He wants to be a more benevolent ruler, and that's what he wants his daughter to be. And we find out as the movie goes on, his daughter was killed, yada yada yada. But we don't get any of that until the movie goes on. Unlike Star Wars, where we
I thought
get
from the beginning they said that the people got murdered.
they said that people got murdered. The problem is it's almost like they tried to set up like the empire was bad, but it was good at the same time.
Hmm.
Does that make sense? And that's where I was like, huh? Whereas in Star Wars, A New Hope, it was set up empire bad, rebels, boom, go.
You know what this movie is? It is all. Hold on, let me get the words right. It is tell, don't show, and there should be more show. It is the same way if you write a
Yes.
new script, you see dog, you write dog, you see dog, say
See,
dog,
see dog, say dog. And so
all of
I
that stuff. But there are so many times when they just explain what they did. You know what? Show
yes,
me what you do. Don't explain it. And then after you explain it, don't say, I explained this to you so you know who I am. What?
yes,
People don't
yes,
talk like that. Not normal
yes.
people.
And so let's start there. So as the movie progresses, we get Atticus, who shows up, who's the bad guy, beats Corey Stoll to death. He leaves a garrison. I'm going to show up in
6 weeks or something,
season.
not maybe 9 weeks. I don't know, something like that. Doesn't matter.
I'm going to show up and I need my grain, whatever. Meanwhile, the people who just watched Corey Stoll get bludgeoned to death are trying to figure out, hey,
His wife was also
how
struck
do
down.
how do we figure out how to make ourselves viable so we don't get beat to death? And meanwhile, the people who beat your leader to death leave a garrison and no one watches them to the point where a group of rapists are left with you and no one thinks to watch them. And I thought that in 2023, I was like, why are we still using sexual assault and rape as a tool, as a storytelling tool that did need to happen? Like, I thought that was I thought that was unacceptable. And not only that, you had a person within their regiment who stood up to them, who was like, I'm not going to let this happen. And we knew it wasn't going to let this happen. Hold on. Who never showed up throughout the entire movie
I was gonna,
after that incident.
yes, yeah, because as you brought that up, I was like, wait a minute, I remember that happening, and then what happened to
Mhm.
that? He just was gone.
He never showed up. And so
That's
the
weird.
reason why I bring that up is because here's the thing. That whole thing, the whole her seeing what's going on, I believe the young lady's name was Sam. She went down to the water with the robot and was like, who are you? Anthony Hopkins goes through his spiel about that. And she's like, I was wondering if you need any water. And it was one of those things where it's like, did no one say, hey, when these people are around, you work in groups of two? There's a buddy system. And it just seemed to be unsophisticated. It seemed to be very bad storytelling. And as she's screaming, as people are literally carrying her to assault her, no one from the village showed up to look and say, this is wrong. Sophia Batella's character showed up, and there was all this slow motion of people holding guns and her of like, I'm going to give you the axe. And like they literally telling you what's going to happen to you if you surrender. I just I felt that was bad storytelling.
Yeah,
And then we go from there to, oh, I'm going to find fighters to defend you. There was no talk of the people in the community defending themselves There was no talk of, I'm going to find somebody to train you. I'm going to train you. There was none of that. And I felt like in 2023, that's just bad storytelling for me. And we're 30 minutes in.
I mean,
That,
for
that
me, it
that's just
wasn't.
bad storytelling.
Yeah, for me, it was more like it just seemed like there was it seemed like inconsistencies because at one point you want to get the grain for the people,
Mhm.
but then you don't want to get the grain for the people because now you see that they're bad, and then yeah, it's just weird. Um, it just seemed like there are plot points where they just kind of drop off, and I wonder if that dude that was the one lone good guy or the one lone honorable guy in that
Corey Stoll.
garrison, if no, not Corey Stoll, the
Oh,
guy that was part of the group of rapists, the one who wasn't the rapist. I wonder if he's going to have an extended part in the 4 hour alternate universe thing
um,
because
honestly, I would like to believe you, but based on the movie that we saw, I want to say no because there's so many other people that has to have a spotlight
your
that
your your Seven Samurai need spotlights.
yes. And so I say that think here's the thing that I want to get to. We're 40 minutes into a review of Rebel Moon, and we're only 30 minutes into the film. We hadn't even gotten to the part where Korra has agreed to find fighters to defend this village. We hadn't even gotten to whatever port she went to. We hadn't even left the planet. And that's,
Or the
I think,
soundstage, wherever soundstage she was on, because clearly it was shitty CGI. I'm just saying it looked bad. Here's the thing that is interesting to me. It looked there was something off between like the depth of field of the people in relation to the environments around them. And I don't know
mhm.
what the technical thing is for that, but something was off about it. Like the perspective just seemed off. It was just I know Netflix has money. You talked about this. We talked about this before. Netflix has money to when they want to spend it on something, and I felt like they should have
Yes,
spent it more
agree,
on environments
agree.
and just like the overall making it feel like it's a real world and not just like what's the place where they shoot all this stuff on Disney? What's it called? The Vision, the Cone, the Dome,
Mhm.
whatever that's called. I feel like that's how they shot this movie, but
I,
a
I
worse
will,
version.
I will say, as I watched this film, the film that showed up in my mind, it wasn't Sky Captain. It was Mutant Chronicles.
Hmm.
That's and I'm actually kind of shocked you've never seen this film or didn't know about it. That's the aesthetic that I got when I watched this. If you go back and watch Mutant Chronicles and you watch this film, you're like, oh, those two films were shot in the same universe. And as I'm watching this film, I had issues with it because here's the thing that I think the biggest problem this film made that I think sci-fi films you have to do when you're building a world. You This film did not make a believable universe in their first film. So let's take Star Wars. They they went to multiple destinations: Tatooine, Yavin 4, the Death Star, right? Three different destinations. Let's take another film that was released recently, Dune. Those worlds that they went to were believable, livable. You could understand how those worlds worked, right? How many planets did Rebel Moon go to?
I
Couldn't tell you, right?
I don't know. I mean, I assume.
They told you.
Just based on hold on for a second. I assume that
Mhm.
they probably went to at least one planet per person she got in the gang. So maybe they went to 7 places? I don't know.
Reason why I asked that is because they told you every planet they went to after they left the original planet.
Mhm.
And you can't tell me either any of them, could you?
Mm-mm.
And so the reason why I said is because they didn't make them livable, and they didn't impress upon you the world that Rebel Moon built around these characters in this universe. I can tell you one of the planets they went to was Dagus, because that was where they fought Nemesis fought the spider. That was Jenna Coleman. And there was this interaction between Nemesis
You said Jenna
and,
Coleman?
yep, that was Jenna Coleman.
Jenna Malone, not Jenna Coleman.
Oh, sorry, I
Like
said
Jenna
Coleman.
Coleman is the companion from Doctor Who. Yeah, Jenna Malone.
Wow, sorry, I apologize.
Yeah.
That's I wa- I s- I watch too much stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
Jenna Malone, who is an awesome, I, one beautiful actress, awesome actress, but she was even wasted because there was no backstory of, oh, here are the cultures that have clashed to make this spider mother say, I am going to irrevocably change how you live your life because my life has changed. There was none of that. And I think each of these planets they went to were not unique because they didn't cultivate the worlds that they went to.
Mhm.
And this whole problem with this film starts with they didn't do a good job of explaining the world, not individual worlds, but the world that they created that was Rebel Moon.
Mhm.
And that was one of the biggest problems this film had. It didn't matter where they went because nobody cared.
Mhm.
You didn't care for the characters, didn't care for the worlds they went to. You never cared for anything because they never established that in the first 30 minutes of the film.
Yeah. And even though they went to so many different worlds, the way it was shot, everything was so dark, it all kind of looked samey.
And there was so much going on. What were you supposed to care about? They talked about, so the young lady named Sam, she was played by, and I can pull it up, she was played by Charlotte Maggie, right? She was a young woman who talked to the robot that supposedly never fought after the king was killed, right?
Mhm.
She was so pivotal in the beginning of the film, the first 30 minutes, to where she was about to be gang raped. Gang and I don't, we have these conversations where we talk about, oh, sexual assault. No, she was going to be gang raped by a garrison that was left by an empire. And that was wasted. That whole thing was wasted because once it happened, where Cora showed up to defend her, we never dealt with the Sam character until the end of the movie, where we saw a trailer where Sam was taught to hold a weapon.
Mhm.
And that was the catalyst where Cora was going to leave this settlement, this village, where she crash landed. And we still didn't understand why she crash landed, where she came. Like, that's one of the things that I felt like was done as a disservice as a storyteller, where you're presenting one thing and you're trying to explain what's going on, and it was just a bad story.
Mhm.
And that's the problem that I have. And that's why I got on you, and you're like, it's more than it's just shit. You were like, this was shit. And I'm like, let's break down why it was bad.
You know
Because
why I don't
here,
want to do that? Let me just say this.
go
The
ahead.
reason why, because I feel like by breaking it down, we're giving more reverence to this movie, and I don't feel like Zack Snyder deserves it. I'm sorry. That's how
Here's
I feel.
here's why I disagree with that. Only because I think as we break down this film, I don't think we're giving more reverence to Zack Snyder. I think we're breaking down an incomplete film when there's a different version coming that we should devote more energy towards.
Oh, I can go ahead
I
and tell
think
you, I'm not going to review that.
reason why I said is because I think our energy should be directed towards why did you release a film when you were going to release a director's cut afterwards? And the reason why I said is because I think in the process of designing this world, I have a problem of you saying I'm going to release a 2 hour version that's family friendly, kid friendly, and then I have another version that's going to subvert what you saw earlier and be a more accurate storytelling of what I want to tell you when you don't have to do that on Netflix. Martin Scorsese did The Irishman. He didn't release an hour and a half version and then a 3 hour version later. He released The Irishman. This is my film.
Hmm.
That's the problem I have with this film. And that's where my issues lie, where I have a problem with the fact that Ray Fisher shows up as a blood axe.
If you say so.
And you're like, wait, what? And I'll give the movie credit where they were like, if they can figure it out, the Imperium's gonna figure it out. And it's like, oh yeah, why didn't you not prepare yourselves for the Empire, this movie's version of the Empire showing up? And that's why I say it's bad storytelling, but it's bad storytelling because they're like, oh, this is bad. It's going to be cleared up later when I release my director's cut. It's like, why are you releasing a director's cut when you should have just released that? Does that make sense? Like we're shitting on a movie that should have never been released. It's like you released a new world and you left out an entire chunk of the movie. And then 6 months later, you're like, oh yeah, Obi-Wan met Luke in the desert of Tatooine. I didn't include that in the first version, but now it's in the director's cut. That's the problem I have with this film. Because I don't know what Zack Snyder has in his director's cut. And I'll be honest with you, I don't give a shit because that's what you should have released the first time. And that's the biggest problem, the biggest assault when it comes to this movie. Because here's the thing, this film, and I don't like to use this. It has an audience score of 63. It has a tomato meter of 25%. 25% is the lowest film outside of Sucker Punch that Zack Snyder has.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, it didn't need to happen. It didn't need to be this way because I believe I, I believe Zack Snyder is a good filmmaker. I do. I really do. I think there's enough of his work that you're able to see and say, okay, you can tell a good story. I don't know what happened, and I don't know what this relationship with Netflix that they sat down and said, I want to create 6 films. Here's the first one and the second one. Let's go forward. And you gave us a scale that you gave us Josh Whedon's Justice League on purpose. I don't understand that. And that's where my problem lies.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
we
it's
we we're saying the same thing over and over. The movie's trash.
and here's the thing. I don't think the movie is trash. I don't. Only reason why I say that. Can you hear that?
Yeah,
Okay. I farted. And I did it for
yeah, I heard all that.
I
You
did it
did it
for
for the.
comedic effect. I did
Mhm.
I did it for comedic effect. Sorry. I don't say it's trash only because I don't believe he released this film thinking it was trash. Does that make sense?
Oh, I'm
Like
sure
I,
he thinks he did a good job. I don't
I
doubt that.
and I don't think it is trash only because I need to see the original cut. I need to see the director's cut. I need to see what Zack Snyder's vision was. And once I see that, then I can say, oh, this is trash. And what you released earlier in December is trash. Does that make sense? Because once I see the original version, I can say, this is what you gave us. This is what you intended to give us. This is not good.
I mean,
And that's what
I already know now it's not good.
I, and that's
I
where
don't
we,
need to see. Yeah, that's where we disagree. I don't need to
yeah,
see the extended cut. I can just tell right based what these building blocks are already not good because there's no
okay,
way. There's no way your dialogue is going to get better over the course of a 4 hour movie. It's not.
okay,
I just don't think anything. I think it'll make more sense, but I still think it's going to be garbage.
okay.
And
I,
like you said with Netflix, there's no Netflix has let him do stuff in terms of creating his Army of the Dead universe. So we
mhm.
know he has a good relationship with Netflix. So there's no reason why he couldn't have, like you said, released his super cut now. For me, I'm good. You
So
this is the first foot you gave us on purpose. You knew what you were doing.
yes, and so that's why I'm like, why did you, I guess I'm of the mindset of why did you give us this? Why was this your version? Because and I feel like there should be another video talking about because we hadn't even gotten to Nemesis, Tarek, Tarak, or Prince Tarek, um, General Titus. We hadn't even gotten to the characters that they recruited because I feel like
Because the movie didn't
Zack,
get to those characters.
I feel like Zack Snyder intentionally set up Charlie uh, or Kai, Charlie Hunnam,
Hunnam.
Hunman, Hunnam. They purposely set up his character as the Han Solo character, and throughout the whole thing, they set up him as being Han Solo, the smuggler of the heart of gold, and he turned out to be a shitty person. And I feel like A longer cut will give us a backstory on who he is and who all these other characters are. Because you're right, the young man, and I'm be honest with you, I don't even know his name, who started out as I'm going to defend Sam against the rapist. We don't see him throughout the entire film. We don't. We don't see Nemesis until later on. We see Tarak, who rides a griffin, basically. And then like this whole cadre of characters, the seven samurai, we don't see anything of a budding relationship between these characters at all. And that was to me the biggest letdown as we watched this film, that I was like, as I'm watching, I literally was thinking, so we go seeing these people on the ship, like what's gonna happen? There was a time when I was watching this film and I paused it, and we were an hour in, and we hadn't left the planet.
Did you watch this in one sitting?
Mm-hmm.
Good for you.
You didn't?
No.
Oh, okay.
When I sent you that text, I was where I was at. Like, oh, I stopped it now at the hour.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I watched
Yeah,
it probably like in at least 2 settings, might have been 3 settings.
No, I watched it in one. I literally I put the kids to bed, the wife went to bed. I told you I was gonna watch it. Um, no, I watched it when the kids took a nap, and the boys went to bed. Katie was at work because I thought I watched it at night. And I think about it, no, I watched it in the daytime because I looked at the text messages and I was like, oh, I watched it straight through while the boys napped, and I was like, I have questions. The most, to me, outside of the entire film, the most interesting part of the film, when Ed Skrein was picked up by whoever this space scientist.
And he went to go visit the Emperor?
Yes.
I thought that was cool. I was like, man, where has this been?
Yes. When they hooked him up and he was like laying on the, I thought that was the best part of the film.
That looked cool.
I thought that was the most interesting part of the film.
Mm-hmm. You don't get credit for that, Zack Snyder. I'm sorry, you can't. You're not gonna have me watch 2 hours and 15 minutes like this is a Clockwork Orange, and now you gonna subsidize me with some 5 minutes of good stuff. No.
Yeah, so now that we've done spoilers and you've thought about it, how do you feel about the world that Zack Snyder created?
I don't feel anything with it yet because I'm not invested.
Really?
Honestly, I would love to see. To me, it's a simple thing of get you a really good editor and put parts from part 1 and part 2 together so we get a more cohesive story. Because it seems like we may get more backstory of the characters in part 2 based on what the trailer is. It's like, okay, it seems like we're going to get more about Nemesis and her children. Maybe we saw that scene where Djimon Hounsou was crying. I was like, oh, okay, Titus, that's cool. So wait, these are all backstory stuff. Maybe you should have put part of that in part 1. I don't know. So that way I would care about them in this fight because I'm
Hold
like,
that thought.
Okay.
Hold that thought.
Mm-hmm. I think Leroy needs to go get his child. We've been talking too long about Zack Snyder and it's upset his children, as they rightfully should be upset, because this is the stuff of nightmares that will make kids cry. I mean, I don't know. As I vamp here and let Leroy go do his stuff, I think don't know what to think. I just think there are parts that are interesting. I think the actors and actresses are okay in the movie. Um, I just think the dialogue doesn't sound great. So no matter who's delivering this lines, it's going to be trash. Uh, I don't know. Not good stuff. That's all I got. Um, while he's gone, we do other stuff from time to time where we're not as angry, or at least I'm not as angry. I don't know. This movie really got me fired up, and I think it's just because I know Zack Snyder can do spectacle, and I've enjoyed some of his spectacle and other stuff. It's just the spectacle in this did not work. Um, it was just more excessive stuff. I think it kind of all started with the choreography and the slow motion upon slow motion of stuff, and just things looking muddy and not clear. Poor choices, weird story. Um, Overall, just nothing to write home about. Um, Chat, let us know if you made it this far into the video. Thank you if you did. This one has definitely been a rambling one. I know I'm mostly to blame for that. Did you like this? What are the glimmers of hope that you're like, okay, I can see where Zack Snyder's going with this? Because I can't see it. Leroy is being a little more open minded, and he can see some stuff in here. Let me know what I'm missing. Again, I said it. I'm not the smartest person. I get it. Sometimes movies are over my head, and there's something a deeper meaning in movies that he's trying to do, but I just don't see it here. Um, yeah. And as the longer Leroy takes, I feel like I might be wrapping this up because now we're just doing dead air. This is rough, folks. He's coming back. Oh, okay. That's good that he came back. It's good that you came back because I was about to sign off.
No, sorry. I had to make sure my children were. Anyway, um,
I told him your children woke up because of the nightmares Zack Snyder gave him.
I will say this. I cannot disagree with a lot of things you said, only because we haven't seen the original version that Zack Snyder and Netflix have for this film. The problem I have is, why did you release this? If because you don't have the same restrictions that you had with every other film you've had. Army of the Dead, you were able to do whatever you wanted to do. I like Army of the Dead. I like Day of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, as you did. 300. I actually like Watchmen. I think there are a lot of films that Zack Snyder has done that I don't understand why we release on purpose a watered down version of what you wanted. When you have a streaming service that doesn't need a watered down version.
Now, to be fair, now think about it. I kind of understand why he did that because he wanted to make a family version that kids could watch.
But here's the thing, and this is where, how do I say this? Fuck them kids, man. Apocalypse Now does not worry about the film that is Apocalypse Now. And the people who created that film are not releasing a kiddie version of Apocalypse Now. The Godfather.
They're also not making a franchise of Apocalypse Now with video game tie-ins and books and movies and toys and stuff.
And that's the problem. And the reason why I said it is because release your version of the film and just release it. You want to make a kiddie version? Then make a kiddie version. And I have no problem with that. Then do what you need to do and build your world the way that way. But when you release a version of a film that's scaled down and you're like, I want to release a kiddie version, but this is what I really want to release, then you deserve every criticism that comes your way. Because there's no one saying Apocalypse Now, oh wow, yeah, that's a good film, but man, that earlier film, no, they're literally reviewing Apocalypse Now, the way it was released, and saying this is the magnum opus on how war affects people. And Francis Ford Coppola's version of what war is. And we all watch it, we all take it for what it is. There's no other version. It's what it is. And that's the problem I have with this film and this franchise, that they're like, oh yeah, when Scargiver comes out, there's one version, and then there's will be another version that comes out, and it's like, then why am I watching this version? And that's the problem I have with this entire franchise. If that's what you're going to do, why? I'm be honest with you, I don't even know why I should watch Scargiver. If in a couple of weeks after Scargiver comes out, you're going to release another version.
Well, we don't know when we're getting the 4-hour version of this movie.
Yeah, we do.
When?
Before Scargiver comes out.
Has that been confirmed? I haven't seen that anywhere.
Mm-hmm. We have been told whatever version Zack Snyder and Netflix has for A Child of Fire, it's going to come out before Scargiver comes out.
Okay.
And that's the biggest indictment I can give this film. That literally we spent an hour and 15 minutes talking about this, and it was a waste of time because there's another version that comes out that could fill in all of the holes and the gaps that we have. So all of what we're saying could be mute, because you could answer every question and then bring up 15 more. So everything we're saying doesn't matter, because there's another version that you literally have that's going to change this film and the entire world and how we view it. So which one is canon?
Okay. I'm not worried about which one's canon. They both suck.
And that's where I disagree with you, because I can't say that other version sucks because I haven't seen it. All I've seen, because here's the thing, and the reason I said is, oh, boom, perfect example. You like the film, shit. I'm trying to think of, give me a film that you like. Just off the top of your head, a top 10 movie that you like.
White Man Can't Jump, the original.
Okay, White Man Can't Jump. That's a movie you like. Before White Man Can't Jump, the movie version that you like that came out, they called the same movie, there was not a white dude in it. And that was the first version that came out. And then another version came out where there was a white dude in the film. And they're like, this is the film that I wanted to release. And you're like, but that's not the film you released in the beginning, because there wasn't a goddamn white guy in it. That's Rebel Moon. Hold on. And the problem I have is you did it on purpose. Whereas Justice League, every other film that Zack Snyder had, he had studio interference. He did not have that issue with Netflix. So there was no reason to release White Man Can't Jump and not include the white guy.
I wish I'd given you another movie, because you keep saying that. It's like they wouldn't have called it that if that was the case, but okay.
But that's what we got. And that's what they did. They literally did that with this
I don't
film.
know if they
Rebel
literally did
Moon.
that because it's not like they took out a Rebel Moon.
I disagree with you because he literally is on record saying the next the version that I'm going to release is the version that I wanted to release, and it's going to change the way you view this. And I think releasing White Man Can't Jump without a white guy is basically what Zack Snyder did.
All right, let's wrap this up because we've said the same thing for like the last 30 minutes now. We're not saying anything new.
Okay. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'm Leroy. That's Michael. Michael, I'm going to be honest with you. Michael, I got to give you credit because you have been harsh. You have been very critical of this film, but you have not flamed this film as bad as I thought you were going to be. Like I,
I said stuff off
I've
air that people will never hear that I'm
you,
quite proud of.
and I've kept you on the rails. Like I've kept you on going forward, but you have not been as bad as you could have been. And
Honestly,
that
because
is
the reason why is like, what's the point? You don't even the movie doesn't even deserve all my ire. You don't get all my anger and hate.
because hate would imply that you care.
Yeah, like Zack
Yeah.
Snyder didn't
So
care. I don't need to care either.
so in the comments, I'll be the person who answers these questions or talks to you guys. Let me know what you think about Rebel Moon, A Child of Fire. Let me know what you think what Scargiver is going to be. Let me know what you think about the world that Zack Snyder created. Are you invested? Are you? Because I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't even know if Michael's going to watch. Let me take. Michael's not watching whatever Zack Snyder releases. That is the director's cut of Child of Fire, and I know I
No,
can say this.
no. I probably would watch that. That's the whole point of the thing. I would watch it. I wouldn't run a review it. I'd watch it.
He's not watching Scargiver.
Hmm.
See, he's not watching it.
Hmm.
So I'm going to be the guy who watches it. So if you want to talk about it, hit us up in the comments.
You want me to watch Scargiver? Get them likes and subscriptions up.
Yeah,
I'll watch it.
because I'm gonna tell you right now, as it stands, Michael ain't watching that shit.
There we go. All right, folks. That's it for us. We've been rambling. We'll be back with more stuff later. Peace.